So I'm gonna start with a seated butterfly pose. Other poses I love for starting are child's pose or laying down with the arms extended. So you pick one that you like. And then I just wanna take a couple moments to come home to myself. I've been having a hot flash. It's real, y'all. And so I'm still trying to cool down from that. Now at the end of the 30 minutes, we have a little bit of time on either side to get started and end. So at the end of the 30 minutes, what I will do is stop the video that I'm making for YouTube, and then I will come back to you guys and unmute you, and then you can ask any questions again that you may have, and I'll give you some suggestions on how you might go forward if you have more time today. So let's do about 4 or 5 more deep breaths. So if you're in child's pose, you can come kind of like forward, maybe do some little cobra things, or you can come into an all fours position and do some cats. That's what I'm gonna do. And then just give yourself a chance to start moving. You might have been up doing all of your work tasks this morning, meetings and other things. Maybe this is part of your lunch break. Maybe all you've been doing is wrangling furry people or toddlers. So that's also interesting, or teenagers who are grouchy about being inside. I think that would also be challenging. So kind of let yourself get moving. Take deep, smooth breaths the whole time. Now I'm gonna mostly demonstrate a more gentle approach to Vinyasa, but clearly, especially those of you that have taken my Vinyasa classes before, you know you can step it up if you want to. So when you're at a place where you feel like this is pretty complete, you can tuck your toes and head yourself up into a downward dog. I'm hoping this won't be too slippery. I usually don't practice with a mat, but this round mat gives me a really good aim for the camera. So I'm liking it. And then, you might want to take your dog into some different territory. Sometimes it's fun for me to do a little bit more of a wide situation, kind of get a little movement going in the shoulders. And then come back out to dog. Let's do one more breath with whatever dog you've got going on, and then step 1 foot forward, doesn't matter which one. And you can stay up on your toes, or you can come down onto the knee. Got a hair in my mouth. So kind of backing it up a little and bring it forward a little. And if you're up on your toes, you can kind of spike almost like you're going to go back to down dog. And then come forward and test out that hip. And then I'm going to take myself back, tuck, and go back. And then let's do a plank. And again, to modify the plank, bring your knees down, really hug those elbows and lower. And then come into your back bend. If you like an up dog, do that. I'm a cobra girl. Come on back to dog when you're ready. And we'll And again, so you've got blocks or other yoga props that you can use. You can certainly add those in. I always like to have a few things handy. If you don't have yoga blocks at your house and you're used to using a block, another option is a pot. You know, like your stock pot, or you know, like a spot of some kind. Flip it upside down and it makes a decent yoga block. So one more breath here. And then we'll take it back to dog. Oh. I'm slowly drifting away from the center. But come on forward into your plank. And if you want to take it up, like you can take a foot off the ground and do that. Taking it down, hug those elbows in. Take yourself to your back bend. And then we'll come back to dog. Now, we're going to take this dog into it, warrior two. So take that leg that you're going to start with. Sink into the heel on the other leg. Step this guy forward. You're going to see my back for this round. But kind of find your way in. So I like to come into my pose and check it out. I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely carrying a little extra tension in my shoulders. Come on, back to reverse. Come over to side. And back to reverse. And over to side. And then we're going to go all the way back. And take it all the way down. And step it on back to plank. Add in the extras. And then take yourself through your vinyasa. One of the reasons that I don't practice with you guys is because I like to get in here and stay a little longer. So let's do the other side. Lift. Sink into that heel you're standing on. Step your foot forward. Get yourself to your warrior two. Adjust till it feels nice. Settle in. That feels good, you guys. All right, so then we're going to go down. Take it on back to plank. And again, maybe you add the little dancing plank, or maybe not. And then we're going to stay with 3 breaths with whatever back bend you choose. So if you want to take this down a little bit and do a cobra or a locust, you could do that. So one more. And then we'll come back. So from dog, this time we're going to step into the lunge, pause there, and then we'll add on. So step yourself forward. Now, lunges can be a little tricky, especially when you're in the middle of a hot flash. Woohoo! But in any case, if this, where my heel is off the ground, is problematic, just put your heel down and make it more of a warrior one. And then we're going to pause for a moment. I'm going to go forward and back with my front knee. If you're doing it with your back leg lifted, you can take that knee toward the ground. One more. And then I'm going to straighten this guy out, bring my feet around, get myself squared up with my hip, and then fold. And let yourself breathe. This is where I like those blocks. So every time I come to a yoga pose, I like to experiment just a little bit with, like, how does the pose feel? I think I'm feeling a really lovely traction right there. Not too sharp, just right. Take one more breath here. then we're going to take this into a standing splits, or you can do revolved half moon. So to do standing splits, essentially it's just bending over with one leg in the air. So you stretch that leg up, see if you can balance. Sometimes it's fun. See, and if you fall, you catch. If you want to do revolved half moon, lift your chest up, keep one hand on the floor, and rotate and stretch into it. Oh, this is fun. Oh, one more. Hopefully you can see all that. All right, put your hands down, step it back to dog, and then feel. So is there a difference? Oh, that feels good in the two sides. And then add in your vinyasa, maybe doing that little dance and plank. Maybe not. Add 3 breaths to your back bend. And one more. All right, let's take it back and do that other side. So, here we go. Step that guy forward. And again, this guy could be the high lunge, or it could be your warrior one. And then depending on how you want to do your arms, overhead, at your heart, down below, wrapped around. Ooh. And then we're going to take one more breath and turn this into our split leg forward bend. Ooh. Some people call it pyramid. I've heard some other names also. Again, just a kind of feeling of what happens if I do that? What happens if I do that? All right, so just moving the hip. This calf muscle is feeling really pretty much at its limit, so I'm not going to push much harder on that back leg. But I'm noticing my front toe coming up, so I'm going to re-establish that base. Spread out my toes and kind of press them into the ground a little bit. You're not trying to claw the mat with your toes, you just want the patties of the toes to make contact with the earth. It helps keep the arches muscle strong. So now we're going to take it into that balancing pose. So either standing splits, ta-da, don't fall on people or credenzas, or man, this plant might be having a moment. Or you can do your revolved half moon, and this other plant and I might have a bit of a relationship. Oh, you guys, that feels so good. Oh. All right, let's take it back to dog. Dog town. And see if there's a difference. Oh, that feels nice. So throw in your vinyasa. However you like it to go. Hug those elbows in. And come to your cobra or your up dog. One more breath. If you're already a dog, you're a dog. It's all good. And then we'll take it back to down dog. And we're going to do that warrior 2 sequence again with an addy pose. So step yourself forward. Find your warrior 2. And then squiggle in. So I'm going to take this reverse warrior and just play with it a little bit. And mostly I'm moving the ribs, feeling the moment where the hip starts to move. And then let's come to that side angle pose and do a similar thing here. Kind of adjust. Notice how your footing is. Notice if you're collapsing into that inner leg. And then we're going to take this to triangle pose. Now Now my triangle is a little shorter than my warrior two, and I'm a fan of a block. So kind of aiming out through my hip, lengthening out through the spine, rotating as much as it feels good to rotate. You can keep your hand on your hip, you can take your arm up, you can look up at your thumb, or down at your big toe, or off into whatever beautiful view you might have out of your window. Oh. Take one more breath, and then we're going to take this guy into a wide angle. I'm going to turn around so that you don't have to look at my bum in this wide angle. Back of my back will be fine. So your legs are wide, just spin your feet around, and you can take them out a little bit or in a little bit depending on how your joints feel about life. I'm going to put these on the floor so that I can rest my elbows on them. Because I want to, lean backwards into that shape. And then I'm experimenting with like a really gentle movement. I'm essentially rotating my femur bones in and rotating them out. It's not a big movement, it's very tiny. But by doing that, I just shift the relationship. You can also get a little looser, bend the knees. Oh, that feels nice. Okay, so let's do that 2 more breaths. And then we'll take this around and step it back into our dog. All the way around the world. And if you don't want to do another vinyasa, you can just hold this dog and kind of feel it. If you want to throw that vinyasa in, throw it in. Add the extras. I took my hands too far forward for that one. And then let's do 3 breaths with that inhale. That's your first one. And then let's take it back and we'll do the other side. Now, once I get to my dog, take that other leg up. And then step it into your warrior two. And adjust until it feels pretty good. I like to try to find the hip sockets and the groins. Make sure everybody's happy. And then we're going to play with this adjustment of the rib cage. Just looking for a home, noticing when it starts to make my hip change shapes. Ooh, same idea with side angle. Oh, that feels good. Oh, side angle. You're my bud. And again, I'm lifting through that back thigh, adjusting. Try not to get too heavy on this elbow. Ooh, and then we're going to straighten this guy out, make it a triangle. There's a lot of notions about these yoga poses. And the thing that I come back to for my own practice is feel how your body responds to each of those notions. Don't take them all at wholesale value. Some people have lots of ideas, but we're also uniquely put together that it's hard to know what's right for you or for someone else. So get the basic shape and then adjust. Let's take one more big breath here. And then we're gonna turn this into a wide angle forward bend. Which hopefully I'm still kind of in the screen. Now I'm gonna do something a little different with this guy. I'm gonna start where I landed last time and just adjust my feet. And then, I'm gonna try to go through here and just reach back in. Now sometimes my head is close enough that I can rest the top of my head on a block. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but hopefully you got that. For some reason that feels really nice to just let On top of my head, be suspended and supported. Ooh. So let's do 2 more breaths here. All right. So we've got a couple of minutes left. What I would like to do is to do a little pigeon pose. So that's where I'm going to take this. I'm going to go into a vinyasa, get into a pigeon, and then if you've got, like, we'll stay for a little bit. Maybe we can do both sides before we have to end up here. Oh. So again, you can skip the vinyasa if that's appropriate, modify the vinyasa or add on to it, as the case may be, so that you're hugging those elbows in, and we're coming into a nice, a nice back bend here. And then, oh, that feels so good. Then we're going to take ourselves to a pigeon. Now, for pigeon, I've got this little throw pillow handy that I'm going to use. So, coming back, taking a leg up, sinking in, and then bringing it forward. And again, this pose isn't right for everybody, so you can flip this guy upside down and put one leg on top of the other, and that's a really lovely way to take this in. You can bend this knee and reach for that foot. You can come in lower. I like to find kind of a place where I'm kind of in the middle. Let myself come into a little bit more gentle breath pattern. We're going to stay for like another 30 seconds, 45 seconds. With these deeper layers of tissue, especially once we've gotten ourselves kind of warm, staying for between a minute and a half and slightly over that is a nice kind of marker, kind of gets us into these, it allows the body to realize that it's not in trouble and relax. So it allows the nervous system to stop fighting us, and then we can kind of get on with it. If you're in too deep though, your nervous system won't stop fighting. So we're about at that halfway mark. I'm gonna take or at that 30, 45 second mark, I'm gonna take this back leg and bring it around. And you can bring it all the way around on top. When I do that, I can't get this hip all the way to the ground. So I like a little bit more of this. Now, we're gonna do something that's gonna stretch this connective tissue right here in the neck. So it's a little unusual, a bit of a twist. So we're going to turn this way with the torso and then turn that way with the head. And we're going to see if we can kind of lean back. Now we're not looking for a really strong sense of stretch here. Well, it's kind of like a sensation that's more akin to just stretching the skin, if that makes any sense. So kind of letting your head move over that shoulder. There's a lymphatic pathway right here, and when we stretch that fascia, we help the lymph drain, and maybe we could use a little bit of that. Keep the lymphatic system happy. I'll give you another idea for Shavasana that'll help with that too. All right, so let's do the other side. Oh, that feels good. Whew. So, you can go back to dog, throw in your extra vinyasa, and do all that. We don't have very much time, so I'm going to go directly into the other pigeon by swirling that leg around and giving myself a little pillow. Now, starting with little adjustments, try to kind of find a sense that that is just where I want it. And your pose can look different. They don't have to look the same. It can look like that, right? You can flip it over. There's no one way to do a yoga pose, just like there's no one way that's right for every human being to exist on this earth. So allow yourself to kind of find, this is my hip that's a little more muscular, a little tighter. So I'm definitely feeling a little more sensation in that piriformis area. I don't want to be too pushy. Again, we'll stay for about 45 more seconds, 30 if you want to get out of there a little sooner. And again, you could bend your back knee, grab your foot, all kinds of groovy things. I have an awesome friend in Greensboro who owns a studio there, and she has a picture of herself in, I think it's in big toe posture, where you stand up and hold your big toe and have your leg out to the side, and in one hand she's got a coffee cup, and in the other hand a bag of organic Cheetos. So you can do your own yoga poses any way you want, yogis. So we're going to take a couple more breaths. I'm sweating so much. There's one rolling down the tip bridge of my nose. All right, so we're gonna roll to the side. Bring that back leg around. Adjust your body. And then we're gonna go for this lymphatic stretch on the other side. So first, just kind of finding your way into the pose. Get really tall. That's important. And I have very short little arms, so I'm gonna use a block. And then normally you turn the head this way, so I'm gonna do that for a moment. Then I'm going to leave my body there and turn my head the other way, and I'm trying to stretch that area right there. The lymphatic pathway goes right down there. Next, it's not the carotid artery, but it's in the fascia, just under the skin. So you can probably feel like your sternocleidomastoid muscle. You might be able to feel that artery if you put your finger in there. You might be able to feel the pulse of that. We're not going that deep. It really is very much kind of like a sensation of, oh, giving the skin a tug, along with this delicious, twist. So take a couple more big breaths. If you've had a cold or anything, you've ever felt like the little swelling in your lymph nodes right in here, you know kind of where that area is. Let's do one more breath. And then we're going to come around now. Whew. Oh, I love coming out of a twist. Gosh, that feels amazing. All right, so for those yogis watching on YouTube, you could now go immediately to the gentle yoga routine that I posted yesterday. That's under gentle yoga classes. Eventually, if you're watching this later into the future, there might be a bunch of them there. So you could do that, and then you'll get kind of an hour-long practice. For those of you that have to go get a lunch and go home, what you can do instead is now do a little shavasana, and then you can go home. So I'm going to end this. Namaste, yogis.